Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we're running into our favorite video of each and every weekday, that player props video, and finishing the week super hot last Friday, up 5 units for y'all if you were following along. We'll look to stay hot this week as we move along here. Do make sure you check out Nate's great article up on playpicks.com with some best bets and player props in there, and like and subscribe to that page as we got a couple other videos up for you today, including that Memphis Grizzlies game against the 76ers. Just want to point out, when we recorded that, Joel Embiid was playing. He is not playing, but either way, we told you to take the Grizzlies. So that looks a little bit better even now without the current MVP favorite in there. Either way, in this one, we will be taking a look across the league at some of those player props we love to bring you. And as always, though, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight's player props. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, Embiid is out, but there is a big man to target in a game to target. The Pacers are at the Clippers in a game that opened with a 214 total, has been bet all the way up to 222 right now, considering these teams to combine for 272 the last times they met. That's not really that surprising. The Pacers have been hemorrhaging points, but they got Domantas Sabonis back in the lineup from that ankle injury. A couple games ago, their offense has obviously come around. Well, he played 44 minutes, put up a triple-double against the Thunder, then only 29 minutes on a back-to-back as they took a blowout loss in Dallas. But the 44 minutes on normal rest is encouraging. We expect him to log plenty of time here against the Clippers team that is really, really bad on the boards this season, 29th in defensive rebounding rate, and gives up the highest rate of offensive rebounds. So I'm looking at the peripheral stats with Sabonis more than his scoring. I don't necessarily expect him to get 20 and a half, which is where his points prop is, but the peripheral stats have been incredible lately. Well, just in these two games back, 33 rebounds and 18 assists, which is what he averages when Miles Turner is out in 5 games this year. He does get 20 points per game along with 16.2 rebounds and 9 assists. So plus money slightly at 19.5 rebounds and assists. I'm all over that. I would just take the 12.5 rebounds at minus 112. This is a guy who routinely will put up 16, 18 boards. So I think the rebounds and assists is such an easy bet because he rebounds that well, and he's also maybe the best passing big man we have in the game, averaging 9 assists per game when their true center's out. He only averages 5 assists per game, sure, in his last 5 against the Clippers, but that is bound to spike now with both Malcolm Brogdon and Miles Turner out. They need his playmaking.
Yeah, so basically you're just a little bit nervous to take his points, but you still know he's going to get a ton of boards. And the way that he's also been assisting, to your point, it's a lot easier to keep that prop under 20, right, as opposed to taking those points where he's already at 20 and a half. Like you said, maybe you don't like that quite as much, but you feel really good about the rebound. So I would follow you on either just to get that plus money with the assists. Like you said, I mean, averaging 16 and a half boards since returning from injury. So yeah, I would feel pretty good about him there while monitoring the points and limiting that. So a guy I'm actually going to take the points on, and we've tried, he was very popular in our player props last year. That's Orange Julius Randle. This year, obviously we know about what's been happening with him, a bit of a regression. However, nothing says, a turnaround game like playing the Sacramento Kings, especially when you are a big man playing against the Sacramento Kings, knowing how bad they are at all those types of stats and defending the paint, etc. Julius's points are at 18 and a half tonight. That gets you minus 110 on FanDuel. You could also consider his points and assists because that's even money there at plus 100 at 24 and a half over. His struggles have been mostly on the road lately. And so, this game at home spells maybe another opportunity for him as well for a nice turnaround. His last 5 at home, he's averaging 17 points, almost 10 boards, and over 6 assists. So right there, the points maybe not, but the assists or rebounds as well. Combining those things. But in his last 3 versus Sac, 24 points per game, almost 13 boards and 4 assists, shooting 52% from the field, over 30% usage rate. Like I said, anybody who's a big man right now playing against Sac, you got to feel good about that. They're giving up the most points in the paint. They give up the 6th most rebounds in the league to their opponent. And then you look at what they do in terms of opponents that are power forwards, and Julius is very much so a power point forward, however you want to look at him. They give up the second most points per game to opposing power forwards and a fifth most rebounds as well to opposing power forwards. So I think it's an opportunity for Julius to really be able to do what he wants. There's not anybody that is a good matchup for him on the other side with his size and strength and versatility. I'm going to pick him tonight, and I'm really feeling mostly about that points there at 18.5. I think he's due to get over that.
Yeah, and this is the fifth game of a road trip for the Kings. They've lost all of the previous four. They've lost 11 of their last 13 overall, and a bevy of points to be found for the opposition really in every game until they only gave up 103 to the Sixers, that kind of anomaly. They had given up at least 114 in 8 straight games. So even the slow-paced Knicks, we should see some buckets from them. And Randall has been putting up points and assists at home, which is why, I agree with combining those. So good thing we waited a little bit for this props video because we did not talk about Joel Embiid. Now we have to talk about who will step up for the Sixers. That should be Tyrese Maxey, who's, even in his last 5 with Joel Embiid out there, he's playing 40.5 minutes per game. He is the primary playmaker out of the backcourt for the Sixers, showing remarkable growth in that department with 7.2 assists per game over his last 5. He averages 14.8 points per game in that span, but in 11 games without Embiid, that points per game jumps to 22, including his last 5 without Embiid, a 29% usage rate, 23 points per game, 6 assists per game. That's why you're getting minus 120 on the points and assists at 24.5, because it seems very likely. He's at 19.5 points. If you want to take that straight up, I would combine it. I would also expect some positive regression with rebounds here. He went for 23 points, 7 assists, and 0 rebounds in a blowout loss at Memphis without Embiid last month. But those boards are bound to fall into his lap a little bit more often. The usage rate is just the biggest thing to monitor, as we always talk about on player props. It's only 18.5% when Joel Embiid is playing. And again, 29% recently without Embiid. And if it's not going to be Tobias Harris necessarily, definitely not as a playmaker. I mean, Tobias Harris is not a good passer. He's not going to set other guys up. And he happened to struggle his last time out against Memphis. It's been kind of off and on for him. I would rather target Maxey, given what he can do out of the backcourt.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we targeted that earlier in the season as well when Maxey broke out and made a name for himself. And it was all because there was a spell without Joel when he had COVID, I believe, or at least was in the protocol. So, that put Maxey in the spotlight, and he definitely performed getting those points. And then, you can feel good about the assists as well, as he's, definitely going to be in there as a playmaker, which he has been as of late. As you said, Tobias clearly not a playmaker. Seth Curry does his part, but he's definitely a better off-ball guard there. And Maxey's the one with the ball in his hands who can definitely make things happen. Feel good about coming back to him with Embiid on the bench 100%. In that game, sticking to that game, a guy I was going to choose whether or not Joel Embiid was in or not, really, because it's Desmond Bane, and a guy that, he got his shine in the beginning of the season, has been keeping that up, making a name for himself, did, get hurt there a little while ago and sort of came back with a little bit of a regression, but I think he's back into form. His points tonight sits at 17.5. That's why I really like it no matter what with Embiid in or out. We do like Ja to, have another big game tonight against a team that doesn't have an interior presence that's too scary now. Obviously, Drummond comes in, but still, we saw what happened last time that the 76ers played Memphis without Embiid, and you feel good about Jaws, but his props remain super, super high tonight, understandably so, which is why it's 17.5 points for Desmond Bane. I think you're getting really, really good odds for him to hit 3 threes, over 2.5 3-pointers made is plus 115 at DK. I'm also going to hit that for sure. Since he's been back, he hasn't been hitting even two threes a game on average, but there's been a bunch of games at home. And you look at what he does in his road splits, he's a completely different player. At home, he's averaging 15 points a game, about 2 3-pointers on the season at home on 44-33 splits. Not the worst, but not very good compared to what he does on the road, 21 points a game, 5 boards and 2 assists, and then 52% from the field, 50% from 3. He's averaging about 3.8 made threes on 7.4 attempts. attempts on the road over all of his games of the road. His usage rate jumps 5% when he's on the road versus when he's at home as well, up to 27% usage rate on the road. So I think those threes and those points, I don't need to get cute with anything else in there. I feel really good about Desmond Bane hitting that no matter who's on the floor for the 76ers tonight.
Yeah, if you do want to get cute or you want to get better odds, 20 points in a win at plus 285, he averages well over that on the road, especially in his last 7 road games. So, you look at why the Grizzlies are able to keep thriving without Ja Morant, and you look no further than Bane. His fingerprints are all over every key win that they have. And this is a big spot for them. Even with Embiid out, they're going to want to prove that they can beat this Sixers team on the road. So I would just look at some of his performance doubles here to get those points up and get them the win for sure.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, we were already feeling good about the Grizzlies money line before Embiid went down. Now, obviously, we feel really good about it, even at that 3.5 that I believe it sits at right now. Probably going to continue to rise even as you see this. But either way, yeah, Maxey and Bane in this game, think we're really liking them to get their points tonight. So that is all the time we have for you. And this one will look to stay super red hot with these player props pick as we start this week. So until we see you next, happy betting.